So this video will be in a few parts, just because my camera only lets me do so long, my phone camera. But this will be a little more in-depth on my illnesses and how I lost my arm. As I said before, I was born with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and it actually caused a deformity of my right arm, where I was born with limited motion in it. And I struggled a lot as a child with the rheumatoid arthritis. It was very aggressive, and it spread very rapidly. And back then, they didn't really know as much as they do now as far as treating children with it. So it was a lot of trial by error type of thing. I used to have to sleep in splints on a lot of my joints, like my knees, my lower back, my arm, my wrist, stuff like that. Now we know that by immobilizing joints like that, it actually causes damage to the joints by keeping them immobile like that. But anyway, so I just had normal arthritis struggles. As I became an adult, of course, my juvenile rheumatoid arthritis became adult rheumatoid arthritis. I also ended up with fibromyalgia. And then I had my daughter in 2000, and pregnancy was normal. Everything was good. But then when I got pregnant in 2002 with my son Dylan, it was a totally different pregnancy than from with my daughter Skylar. During this pregnancy, all of a sudden, mid-pregnancy, my arm hurt so bad one day. It was a pain I had never felt before. My now ex-husband, but my husband at the time, had looked at it and said that it was swollen to like the size of a baseball and was red, like red, delicious apple red. It was hot to the touch. I tried to just bear with it, thinking it was just an arthritis flare-up at its worst, but ended up going to the ER. They attempted to put Novocaine in and extract fluid from it, kind of like they do when they drain my knees, because they've done that quite a lot. And they could not get any fluid out. And I mean, they attempted a lot. I was in agony that night. And so eventually they said, well, we've got to get an orthopedic surgeon in here and discuss maybe going in to get the fluid out. They did a bunch of tests. I ended up going in for surgery, and when I came out, they said that I had a candida growth inside the tissue of my elbow, especially in the elbow joint itself, which candida is a form of yeast that your body naturally makes, but in overproduction of it is really bad, and that's what was happening. So they went in and cleaned it out. They did a few more times because it just wouldn't go away for some reason. It just was not clearing up. I had PICC lines put in so that at home I had to have an IV pole that had medicine going through it 24 hours a day, as well as a backpack one that had potassium in it because my potassium levels were so low. It was complicating the pregnancy. And then I had to do IV antibiotics at home. Eventually, they went with a very aggressive one called Amputation, which they nicknamed Ampho the Terrible. Makes you feel like you have the worst case of the flu you've ever could imagine. It was horrible. So the entire pregnancy was just surgeries, more surgeries, sickness from the antibiotics, in and out of hospitals for weeks on end, because every time I had to have it cleaned out, they kept me in there because they would have to. It wasn't just like one surgery and clear it out. No, it would be like 3 surgeries back to back over like 3 or 4 days to make sure they get everything out. So, long story short, I ended up having what they call a fascial orthoeplasty, where they had to go in and they took the damaged tissue and stuff out and put a dead person's a donor's Achilles heel tendon and muscle stuff inside the elbow joint to try to replace it, so that way I wasn't just bone on bone. And the infection, of course, had eaten mine up. So, but unfortunately, the infection attacked that as well. They had to go in and take that out. Still more surgeries even after I gave birth to Dill. He was sick for the first couple of weeks, of course, because of the surgeries that I had had during the pregnancy. But he was still healthy weight, healthy boy, handsome boy, still is. But after that was eaten up, they realized that the osteomyelitis was spreading to my bone, which is not good, because also if it spreads to your bloodstream, it can kill you. Part 2 coming right up.